3 weeks ago, a proposal that had been quietly moving through palace corridors for months was stopped dead. Not slowed, not redirected. Stopped. And the person who stopped it did not just say no. He waited until the full argument had been made, let every supporting case be presented, and then produced a counter-move so precise and so complete that the proposal collapsed under its own weight before it ever reached a formal vote. Prince William has been called many things by palace commentators over the past 5 years: cautious, deliberate, occasionally slow to act. Nobody who watched what he just did to Camilla's proposal to elevate her son Tom Parker Bowles is using those words right now. What happened inside those palace corridors over the past several weeks is not just a family disagreement. It is a documented demonstration of where real institutional power sits inside the British monarchy in 2026. And the person who thought she understood that power dynamic is sitting with a very different understanding of it tonight. Stay with this, because the way this played out tells you everything about what the next decade of this monarchy looks like. Before we go further, if you are new here, hit subscribe and turn notifications on right now. We cover royal dynamics the way they actually happen, not the polished palace version. Every video goes deeper than the last. Now let us get into what William just did and why Camilla cannot publicly respond to any of it. If you watched our last video, you already know that the Sussex departure created a power vacuum inside the monarchy that nobody has fully filled. What we are about to show you is William stepping directly into that vacuum in a way that changes everything about who actually runs this institution. To understand what William blocked, you have to understand why Camilla thought the proposal was reasonable in the first place. The working royal roster in 2026 is by any historical measure dangerously thin. Prince Harry removed himself from royal duties in 2020 and has not returned. Prince Andrew was permanently withdrawn from public life following his association with Jeffrey Epstein and the subsequent civil case settlement in 2022. King Charles, now 76, was diagnosed with cancer in February 2024. His treatment continued throughout 2024 and into 2025. He has maintained his public schedule with genuine discipline, but his medical team has placed strict limits on the volume and intensity of his engagements. The result is that the relentless tide of patronages, state visits, regimental appointments, and public engagements that a functioning monarchy requires is being absorbed by a handful of people. William. Kate, whose own health recovery has required careful management of her schedule. Anne. And the secondary working royals whose public profiles are significantly smaller. Camilla looked at this situation and saw an opening. Her son, Tom Parker Bowles, is 50 years old. Food writer, critic, author, media professional. Comfortable in public, genuinely charming, with what Camilla's camp described as a demonstrated private commitment to charitable causes. Not a celebrity chasing a title. A capable professional who happened to be the son of the Queen Consort and who was in Camilla's assessment an obvious solution to an obvious problem. She began advancing this argument behind palace doors. The monarchy needed reinforcements. The current working royals were under unsustainable pressure. Rigid adherence to outdated bloodline rules was placing the institution's capacity to function at genuine risk. Tom Parker Bowles, she argued, represented exactly the kind of modern pragmatic flexibility a 21st century monarchy needed to demonstrate. It was a reasonable-sounding argument, presented carefully, timed precisely to a period when the staffing problem was most visible. William and Anne heard every word of it. Then they took it apart. Quick pause here. Drop in the comments where you are watching from. Country, city, wherever you are in the world. We want to know where the community is watching from. Drop it below and then stay with us because this is where it gets really interesting. The disagreement that followed was not primarily personal. That is the detail most coverage of this story has missed. William and Anne did not oppose the proposal because they disliked Tom Parker Bowles. The opposition was constitutional, specific, and backed by institutional precedent that Camilla's camp had no effective answer for. A royal patronage is not an honorary badge. When a member of the royal family becomes the official patron of a charity, a medical foundation, a cultural institution, or a military regiment, they are deploying the full prestige of the crown to validate that organization. The presence of a royal patron functions as a guarantee of public trust, an institutional endorsement that elevates the organization above commercial and political life. That guarantee works only because of one thing. The patron is a formal constitutional member of the House of Windsor, who has surrendered their private life to the service of the state. The working roles within the family are reserved for the sovereign, their direct blood descendants, and the immediate peers who have taken formal lifelong vows to serve the state. That line is not administrative convenience. It is the foundation on which the monarchy's legitimacy rests. William's documented position, stated clearly to palace advisors according to sources familiar with the discussions, was this: if the son of a queen consort can be quietly elevated to represent the crown today, the precedent is set permanently. Future monarchs will face demands from extended family members citing exactly this decision. The door once opened does not close. Anne's contribution was equally significant and arguably more institutionally powerful. As the person with over 50 years of uninterrupted royal service and a reputation as the most disciplined defender of protocol within the House of Windsor, her alignment with William transformed the disagreement from a policy debate into an institutional statement. She demanded a full, transparent audit of the vetting procedure. She asked openly whether the proposal had gone through the normal safeguards, months of background checks, constitutional review, formal consensus of senior advisors, or whether it had been fast-tracked through personal influence under cover of the staffing emergency. That question had no comfortable answer, because the honest answer was that the normal, rigorous safeguards had not been fully deployed. The moment that became clear, Camilla's camp lost their procedural ground entirely. The palace split into two clear camps. Camilla's supporters argued that this was a natural modern recognition of Tom's private charitable work, that a modern monarchy needed agility, that the public would accept his presence if vital national charities could continue without interruption. William and Anne, backed by senior civil servants and traditionalist courtiers, maintained that the symbolic and constitutional importance of royal patronages transcends individual achievement or temporary logistical convenience. Anne's historical argument was the one that proved most difficult to counter. When non-working or extended family members had been granted patronages in the past, it was done under strict, tightly controlled parameters with clear constitutional accountability. Introducing a non-bloodline stepchild into a high-profile role represented a departure from modern royal history, with no clean precedent to point to. As reported by sources familiar with the Council Review, Anne referenced specific precedents from the 1990s, when the monarchy last faced questions about the boundaries of official royal representation. In each of those cases, the boundary held. Non-bloodline family members remained private citizens regardless of their proximity to the crown. The precedent was not just clear. It was recent enough that no one in the room could credibly claim ignorance of it. The question Anne kept returning to was simple. If established rules can be adjusted to accommodate a personal relationship in this circumstance, where exactly will the boundaries be drawn in the future? Nobody in Camilla's camp had a satisfactory answer. Complete deadlock. Camilla arguing for flexibility, William and Anne arguing for constitutional integrity. Charles caught between his wife and his heir, unable to argue convincingly for either side without cost to the other, and then William made the move that ended the argument entirely. He solved the staffing problem without Tom Parker Bowles. He proposed Peter Phillips, the oldest grandson of Queen Elizabeth II, son of Princess Anne. A man who has never held a formal royal title, spent over 20 years as a self-made corporate professional, Jaguar, Williams Formula One, managing director of Cell Uck, and has been one of William's closest and most trusted personal confidants throughout his adult life. Alongside Peter, William proposed Harriet Spurling, Peter's wife, a dedicated pediatric nurse whose frontline clinical expertise directly served the Royal Foundation Center for Early Childhood. With Catherine managing her schedule carefully through her health recovery, the early childhood and pediatric health campaigns needed exactly the kind of specialist credibility Harriet brought, without requiring Catherine to absorb additional public pressure. The model William proposed was precise: no public funding, no aristocratic titles, no formal patronage positions requiring constitutional review. They would operate as specialist volunteer ambassadors, donating professional expertise to specific high-priority campaigns, with every public appearance vetted and approved in advance by William's personal press office. Bloodline legitimate. Publicly funded by nobody. Constitutionally unambiguous. Immediately deployable. The staffing problem Camilla had argued could only be solved by bringing in Tom Parker Bowles had just been solved without him. If this is the level of detail you want on every royal story, subscribe to Palace Drop right now and hit the bell. This is what we do every single week: named sources, verified details, the full picture. You do not want to find this channel 3 months from now and have to catch up on everything you missed. The contrast between the two proposals was the argument that required no further debate. Camilla's proposal required bending constitutional rules, blurring bloodline boundaries, and setting a precedent with permanent implications. William's proposal cost the public nothing, required no rule bending, was backed by bloodline legitimacy, and was ready to deploy immediately. Faced with that comparison, the proposal to elevate Tom Parker Bowles collapsed. Camilla withdrew the recommendation entirely. No formal vote, no public debate, no announcement, just a quiet withdrawal from negotiations and the permanent cancellation of her son's path into the official royal apparatus. King Charles was, according to sources familiar with his response, satisfied with the outcome. He had spent his entire reign managing the tension between his blended family and the constitutional demands of his office. William and Anne's counter-proposal provided the perfect exit. He did not have to personally reject his wife's proposal. The institutional process had done it for him. His formal approval of William's arrangement sealed the matter. As of 2026, Peter Phillips and Harriet Sperling are operating in their new voluntary capacity within the framework William established. Tom Parker Bowles retains no formal role within the royal apparatus, and no pathway to one has been left open. Camilla's position within the working structure of the monarchy is unchanged on paper. Queen consort, present at state occasions, fulfilling her formal duties. But something shifted in those negotiations that paperwork does not capture. She discovered the precise boundary of her influence, and she discovered it by running directly into it. What this episode reveals about the monarchy in 2026 is worth sitting with carefully. Charles is 76, managing a cancer diagnosis, and by all documented accounts, conserving his energy for the public duties his position demands. His capacity for sustained internal political conflict, the kind that protecting Camilla's agenda requires, has diminished significantly over the past 18 months. William controls the Duchy of Cornwall, £1.2 billion in assets, $30 million in annual income. He controls who works within its structure, which organizations receive its support, and which connections to the wider royal apparatus are maintained or removed. That financial control is not symbolic. It is operational. Anne has 50 years of institutional credibility, unrestricted access to the senior courtiers and civil servants who actually run the day-to-day machinery of the monarchy, and a documented willingness to use both when she believes constitutional principles are at stake. Against that combination, Camilla's primary asset is her proximity to Charles, his support, his protection, his willingness to absorb political cost on her behalf. The Tom Parker Bowles episode demonstrated that even that asset has limits. Charles did not fight for the proposal. He accepted the outcome that William and Anne produced. Whether that was pragmatic agreement or quiet relief, that the decision was made without requiring his direct intervention, the result was the same. William did not need Charles to side against Camilla. He just needed Charles to step back. Charles stepped back. For Camilla, the arithmetic of that is uncomfortable and entirely clear. Her position is secure while Charles is alive and reigning. The moment that changes, the man who just blocked her son from any foothold in the royal apparatus becomes the man who controls her access to everything. The boundaries William drew in those negotiations were not just about Tom Parker Bowles. They were about every future conversation of this kind, and everyone inside that palace understands exactly what they mean. The staffing crisis Camilla identified was real. The solution she proposed was blocked completely. The alternative solution produced by William and Anne was immediate, constitutional, and cost the public nothing. The crisis disappeared. The work continues. The boundaries held. That outcome was not accidental. It was the result of two people who understand the machinery of the monarchy deploying that understanding with precision and patience against a proposal that had personal motivation at its center. Tom Parker Bowles will not represent the crown. Not now. Not under this arrangement. The door that Camilla spent months trying to open has been closed, and the lock has been changed. And the person who changed it is the same person who will determine what Camilla's life looks like the moment Charles is no longer there to protect her position. Subscribe to Palace Drop and hit the bell. Every week we map the stories the palace does not want in the open. The palace has a version of every story. This is the other one. In the next episode on Palace Drop, we are going inside something that has been building inside that palace for 30 years. Two people, and a target who sources say has no counter strategy for what is coming. The details go further than anything currently being reported, and they connect directly to everything covered in this video. That video is coming this week. Make sure you are subscribed and have the bell on so you do not miss it.